How Michael Jordan turned setbacks into epic victories. The mindset of a legend. From rejection to legend. How Jordan's fire was ignited. Every champion starts as an ordinary person. What sets them apart isn't early talent or external support, but how they react when the world says, "You're not good enough." Michael Jordan's journey didn't begin with applause or trophies, it began with a no. And it was that rejection that sparked the relentless mindset of one of the greatest names in sports history. When we talk about sports legends, the image that comes to mind is one of glorious moments, the impossible leap, the last-second shot, the roaring crowd. But behind that image are untold stories of rejection, pain, and silent work. The truth is, before becoming Air Jordan, he was just Michael, a teenager too skinny, too short, and to his high school coach, not talented enough for the varsity basketball team. That moment, which could have been just another youthful frustration, became the turning point of his life. For most people, being cut from the team would mean the end of the dream. Maybe a reason to change direction, choose another path, give up. But Jordan wasn't most people. He felt the pain, yes. He felt the humiliation, the sense of inadequacy. But instead of retreating, he channeled it all into fierce energy. It's important to understand that the discipline that would make him legendary didn't come from a desire for fame or ambition for money. It stemmed from the wound of rejection. He went home that day devastated, but instead of giving in to despair, he turned his room into a temple and the basketball into a tool of redemption. He started training every day, often alone, in silence, with tears and sweat as company. He didn't train out of obligation. He trained because he needed to prove to himself that he was capable. Jordan's why was personal, profound, almost sacred. It wasn't about beating others, but about never feeling small again. Never again depending on someone's opinion to feel worthy. That internal drive propelled him throughout his career. While many chased the top for glory, he sought to surpass himself. Every practice was an answer to the kid who was rejected. Every point scored was a reminder that he chose to fight. If you've ever been rejected, underestimated, or carried the weight of failure, know this: you're not alone. The greatest stories of triumph start right there at rock bottom, in the pain of refusal. The secret lies in how you choose to react. You can accept defeat as the final truth, or you can use it as fuel. The pain you feel today can be the foundation of your transformation tomorrow. Michael Jordan didn't become a legend despite failure. He became a legend because of it. Like this story of how Michael Jordan turned rejection into fuel. Give it a thumbs up, share in the comments how you face your challenges, and subscribe to the High Performance channel for more inspiring stories. Relentless discipline, Jordan's hidden battle in practice. If the pain of rejection was the spark, the push needed to ignite the engine of transformation, it was obsessive discipline that kept Michael Jordan in constant motion toward excellence. The real building of a champion doesn't happen in front of cameras, in the final moments of a game. It's born far from the spotlight, in the invisible hours of practice, repetition, and personal confrontation. What separates an ordinary winner from someone extraordinary isn't talent, but what they do with their mistakes. For most players, winning a game is enough. The sense of mission accomplished settles in, and everything that comes after feels like a bonus. But Jordan operated on a different logic. For him, victory was just the natural outcome of something much bigger: the process. He saw every game as a reflection of what was done in practice. And that's why his dedication behind the scenes was so intense, almost obsessive. Accounts from former teammates, coaches, and opponents show he didn't rest after a win. On the contrary, he analyzed his mistakes even in games where he shone. When he missed a shot, he didn't just lament it. The next day, he was back on the court, repeating that same motion hundreds of times until failure became impossible. He wanted to understand what went wrong, where precision, timing, or positioning failed, and then he fixed it, adjusted, and repeated again. This relentless pursuit of self-improvement wasn't an external demand. It was a code of honor Jordan set with himself. He refused to be caught off guard by the same mistake twice. It was as if he said, with every new practice, "I won't let this weakness define me." It was the same mindset we see in elite athletes like Fernando Alonso, who study every detail, every turn, every flaw in the car, as if their life depended on it. It's not an exaggeration for people like them. Every detail matters. Jordan's mindset wasn't rooted in seeking perfection in others' eyes, but in the constant desire to be better than he was yesterday. He was always at war with his previous self, never satisfied, always moving. That's what made him unstoppable. Discipline, in this case, wasn't punitive. It was liberating. It allowed him to transcend his own physical and mental limits. It made his movements automatic, his shots precise, his dribbles instinctive. Now think, how many times have you failed and just moved on without truly facing your weakness? How many opportunities did you lose by not going back and working on what held you back? Jordan teaches us that excellence doesn't come from easy wins. It's born from the decision to face yourself with honesty and courage. It's not enough to celebrate successes, you must also honor your mistakes, because they point the way to growth. What did you think of Jordan's relentless discipline? Give the video a thumbs up, share in the comments how you tackle your failures, and subscribe to High Performance for more lessons on overcoming obstacles. The cost of greatness. The loneliness of Jordan's legacy, the fierce discipline and obsessive pursuit of perfection took Michael Jordan to a level few athletes in any sport have ever reached. He wasn't just a talented player, he was a symbol. He embodied excellence, composure under pressure, victory in its purest form. But it's crucial to understand that all this brilliance, all this legendary aura, came with an almost unbearable weight. The champion's mindset is powerful, but also solitary. It demands a steep price, and it demands it in silence. With every shot, every dribble, Jordan carried more than a basketball. He carried the expectations of a franchise, an entire league, and, above all, a generation. There was no room for error. Every failure was magnified. Every victory was treated as a given. What would be celebrated in any other player was, for him, just the bare minimum expected. That kind of constant pressure can erode even the strongest. Being a champion requires far more than talent. It demands sacrifice, and Jordan paid that price in many areas of his life. His discipline on the court was mirrored by an equally rigid approach off it. Personal relationships, intimacy, freedom all were put on the back burner for the sake of an almost unattainable ideal of excellence. While the world saw the invincible hero, the human behind the legend grew increasingly distant from an ordinary life. This reality was also lived by other high-performance names, like Fernando Alonso, who openly shared the emotional toll of living as a performance machine. Being constantly prepared, alert, perfect, it strips away spontaneity, steals the lightness of everyday life. Jordan knew this. He felt this weight. The sleepless nights watching game tapes, the games played with a fever, the extra practices after a long season, all were part of a commitment to a standard of excellence he set for himself. But what almost no one sees is how much this isolated him. The discipline that made him immortal on the court often distanced him from human connections off it. Fame didn't bring peace. Titles didn't bring relief. He was on a mission so intense that the world around him became noise. And this is a rarely discussed truth. Public glory can hide a deep inner void. For the average winner, recognition and money are enough. But for Jordan, those were just byproducts. He was after something more. Personal transcendence. Complete mastery of his own potential, going beyond. He didn't just want to be the best, he wanted to be unquestionable. But the inevitable question arises: how far is it worth going? The journey of high performance demands courage, yes. But it also requires wisdom to know where the limit lies. The greatest victory of all might be finding balance between excellence and humanity, and sustaining greatness without losing your soul in the process. Inspired by Jordan's journey? Give the video a thumbs up, share in the comments what drives you forward, and subscribe to High Performance for more transformative content. The failure that defined him, Jordan's bold leap into baseball. After all we've seen, the initial rejection, the obsessive discipline, and the weight of legacy. It's impossible to fully understand a true champion's mind without looking at one of the most controversial moments in Michael Jordan's journey. In 1993, at the absolute peak of his career, after winning 3 consecutive championships and becoming the undisputed face of the NBA, Jordan did the unthinkable. He announced his retirement and decided to play professional baseball. For many, it was a fall. For others, madness. But in truth, it was there that the most human and powerful side of his journey emerged. The loss of his father that same year was devastating. James Jordan was more than a father, he was a mentor, friend, constant presence. He had encouraged Michael from his earliest days in sports, and it was with him that Jordan dreamed of sharing every achievement. When he lost him, the emotional void was so vast that no victory, no trophy, no number could fill it. Playing baseball, a sport his father loved, was an attempt to reconnect with something purer, more intimate, more real. But Jordan didn't enter baseball as a star. He entered as a rookie, vulnerable, open to criticism, and the world showed no mercy. Errors on the field, mediocre stats, mocking headlines, everything pointed to an epic failure. Yet, this moment is precisely what makes him so special. Because it was in that adverse setting that Jordan showed his true strength. He didn't give up. He kept going. He trained every day, faced his failures head-on, and was willing to learn like any other beginner. That humility is rare in someone who's already reached the top. What the world saw as a mistake was, in fact, an act of courage. Jordan didn't run from pain, he faced it authentically. And when he decided to return to the NBA 2 years later, he wasn't just the player he was before. He was someone more mature, more complete emotionally, and his return was triumphant. He led the Chicago Bulls to 3 more consecutive championships, cementing his place in history as the greatest of all time. But, ironically, what makes his journey even more memorable isn't just the titles. It's this moment of failure, raw human exposure, of authentic vulnerability. He showed us that even giants stumble, that even the greatest need to pause, rethink, breathe, and, if necessary, start over. This is Michael Jordan's true legacy, not that of an untouchable superhero, but of a human who felt fear, felt pain, was criticized, and still chose to keep going. He proved that greatness isn't about never falling, but about always rising with more strength, more awareness, and more truth. If there's one thing we can all learn from this phase of Jordan's life, it's that sometimes our greatest failure is, in fact, the gateway to our greatest transformation. What did you learn from Jordan's courage in baseball? Give the video a thumbs up, share your biggest takeaway in the comments, and subscribe to High Performance to continue this journey of growth.